Whenever I talk to this one girl, I always feel the need to apologize for wasting her time. I have no idea what's going on. I'm so scared to ruin that friendship I built over the summer. Please let me know if you want to elaborate. From Sparrow.
Mm.
Awesome. I know exactly how you feel, Sparrow. I have been in that boat many times with different people, not just girls, guys too. Where I feel like I'm wasting their time. I feel like what I'm doing or what I'm saying is not as important as whatever else they have going on in their life. And part of that might be a self-esteem issue at that point in time, might be a self-confidence thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of Ryan's way because he deals with people like that, I'm sure, a fair amount of time, where they feel like they're wasting his time. Or maybe they don't. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, I know Ryan's got good stuff to say, so I'm going to get out of his way and let him do it. So, Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, Sparrow, don't worry about it. Joe, what do you got to say? Um, so what I would say is that don't worry about it. Um, no, like I feel that way sometimes too, but also, as Joe said, I recognize other people feel that way about me, right? Sometimes I have someone I really look up to, or I really want to be friends with them for one reason or another, and I just, would be really cool to be their friend, etc. Things like that, right? And that happens to all of us. We all have certain people we respect for one reason or another, and we want to be their friend, right? And that level of respect can sometimes bite us in the butt because we take on this sort of view that us talking to them is a waste of their time, and we get really nervous and we don't act like ourselves and we feel like we can't speak up about the things we want to say because we're just so worried that we're going to say the wrong thing that will turn them off and say, hey, I don't really want to be your friend, or you're kind of awkward, or you're weird, or whatever, and they don't want to be around us anymore, right? And we're so afraid of that we can't even actually have a good friendship, right? We're so afraid of messing up that we take all the wrong actions in the first place. Um, uh, a good example of this is actually, believe it or not, with Rainy.
Hmm.
So I have a friend, Rainy. She does our art, right? Um, and at one point in time, uh, I really appreciated her greatly. Not just for her work, but just who she was, her personality, and so on. And so, out of fear of ruining the relationship, I was really careful with all of my words. I was like, unable to, make the jokes I would normally make, just because I was afraid of what they would think, because I didn't want them to think bad of me, right? And so, um, basically, what I ended up doing is, I don't know, just not being myself, right? And so, in order to fix that, because I was like, that's not good. This is not helpful. I know what I'm doing. I can see what I'm doing, and I realize what I'm doing. It's like I'm just being stupid. So, in order to fix that, I basically forced myself to say the things that came to my mind that I would normally say to another person. Basically, stuff I would say to my best friend who I know wouldn't judge me, right? So like, I pretended they were my best friend that wouldn't judge me if I said whatever I had to say, right? I could say anything, right? Like just the most random thing or the most personal thing, it didn't matter. I could trust that they were my best friend, right? Um, I've told them other things before, right? They're my best friend. I've told them all sorts of other personal information before, or all sorts of other funny jokes that didn't land, right? And it's fine because we're friends. We don't really care, right? It's surface level stuff most of the time, and it doesn't really matter. So I force myself to say those things. And by doing that, what I end up doing is I start to force the relationship into a position where, okay, if they don't like what I say now, I've just burned the bridge.
Hmm.
But if they do like what I say, then I've shown that bridge can withstand the jump, right? That it can withstand the walk, I mean, right? Jumping on it, walking on it, whatever. I've shown that the bridge is strong to myself because I just tested the bridge, right? Because if I try to walk across that bridge of friendship where I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna be really what's the word? Really transparent with you now. I'm going to act like you're my best friend. I'm going to not restrain myself from saying certain things, and I'm just going to say whatever's on, whatever I would normally say to my best friend here, right? And I walk across that bridge and it does not collapse, then I prove to myself that this person can handle that kind of relationship, right? It can handle me acting like myself. I've proven to myself that I don't need to be so afraid, that the bridge can be crossed. It's a stable bridge. I used to do inspections. I'd drive around to inspect houses. I remember there was this area. um, there's this area in the mountains, and it had recently been absolutely destroyed by a flood, right? And all of these bridges were just like you didn't know whether you could cross them or not anymore because there were a lot of bridges that had collapsed and like it was a disaster. And I remember driving my car and I drove across the bridge and I was like, why did I do that? And I actually crossed the bridge and I was so scared to cross back. I was like, okay, I drove across it before. I don't know why I drove across that bridge coming in here. I probably shouldn't have, but I did. So now I'm here. I did my inspection. Now I got to cross the bridge again. But you know what I found out? I crossed the bridge and I was like, okay, the bridge held. All right, so I can cross that bridge. That bridge is okay, right? So there were other bridges where I was like, I don't trust it. I'm just gonna walk. I'm not gonna take my car across that bridge. That's no way. And these were in like rural areas in the mountains that had like it was weird. It's hard to describe. But anyways, they would go over like big, huge like ravines that were in water below you and things like that. It was cool though. Anyways, side story. But anyways, when you cross the bridge, right, you forced your hand, and now that helps you interiorly go, okay, that bridge is safe to cross. Right. So that's what I would recommend. That's what I would recommend. Cross that bridge. Force yourself to be yourself. Force yourself to act like they're just any old friend. There's nothing special about them, but at the same time, they're incredibly special, right? They're special enough to be your best friend, but they're not. You don't put them in a position where you are afraid to speak, right? You should never put anybody in that position. In fact, here's something rather unique about humility. Humility isn't suppressing yourself. Humility isn't looking down upon yourself. Humility is the understanding and the correct view of what value is, right? When you look at the world and you put everything in its place according to value, that's humility. When you recognize that you are of equal value as another human being, that's humility. And sometimes that can look like self-giving because if we deserve something, we can look at another person and say they deserve that as well. And so you give things that you have as charity, right? Charity is a form of humility because you're taking from what you have extra and you're giving it to somebody else. Because if you have extra, they should have equal at least. So you give them a little extra from yourself, right? That's humility. It's looking at each other like we are of the same value, right? So if you value someone above yourself, that actually isn't humility. That's self-deprecation. That's what they call selflessness, right? Selfishness is not a virtue. Selflessness is not a virtue. Charity, humility, those are virtues, right? And so humility is looking at someone, understanding their value and acting like they are very valuable, but also acting like yourself is very valuable, right? So that's important because I know a lot of selfless people out there and it is not a virtue. You can see that in them. They don't like themselves. They aren't happy with their life, right? And that carries over onto other people because when you're not happy with your own life, it hurts the people around you. It just does. So basically, what I'm getting at is we should never look at another person and be scared because they're of a higher status. or be scared because we have a lot of respect for them, or be scared, basically be so scared that we can't be ourselves. Because when you withhold yourself, what are you doing? You're withholding your gift, right? You are a gift to this world, and you can give many gifts to it. But if you withhold yourself, you are withholding from that person the gift that you are. So don't look at someone and ever be scared to ruin that friendship. Act as yourself, be yourself, and force yourself to be yourself if you're afraid. Because if it falls apart, then you weren't supposed to be in that relationship anyways. If you act like a good friend and they don't receive it well and the friendship is ruined, right? If you're so scared, the thing that you're scared about actually happens where the friendship is ruined because you were yourself, then that's kind of good, because then you aren't leading yourself on into a relationship with someone who can't even be your friend in the first place. Because are you really their friend if you're not even being yourself? If you're being a different person, who are they friends with? A different person, I guess, right? You have to be yourself in order for them to in order for yourself to find out if they can be friends with you and who you actually are, right? So I say all this knowing that you pretty much know all of this, but ultimately to encourage you to act with some courage and strength, to force yourself to just be yourself, to just say those things that you normally would say, to kind of let it just wash over and be easy. To say, you know what, it's no big deal. I'm just gonna talk. It's no big deal. I'm not gonna worry so much. I'm not gonna be afraid like, oh, what should I say at first? What should my first comment be? Oh, am I bothering them when I say this? Are they, blah blah blah, right? We all do that kind of stuff, right? But if they're willing to be your friend, then you'll know that by the way that they respond. If they don't have time for you, you'll know that by the way that they respond or don't respond. And eventually, if they're like me, they will respond to you, but it might be a day late or 2 days at most, usually, right? But it's, that's just how it is. So give them a chance. Give them a chance to be your friend. Anyways, that's what I got. Joe, over to you.
Thanks for that, Ryan, and thank you very much, Sparrow, for the topic. I've like I said in the beginning, I've been through this before. I've felt like I was wasting people's time. And I really like what Ryan was getting at there, where he was talking about, be yourself, be who you are. If you are putting up some kind of false persona for this person, then they're becoming friends with that fake you. They're not becoming friends with you. And so the friendship
point.
is going to be not authentic in the first place, right? So a lot of times here's a trap that I found myself in years ago. And I've learned to ask myself the question of, like, I would feel this way, like I'm talking to somebody, maybe I'm confiding in them, whatever, and I would always feel like, oh man, I'm wasting their time. I'm wasting their time. They don't, man, they've got their life to live. They don't need to be bothering with all my nonsense. Like I totally get that. But if I'm asking them if I'm wasting their time, before, like in the past, I would use that. I would ask if I was wasting their time, and I would be using that to get their attention. Now, it was kind of subconscious in a way, but that was me kind of like crying out for attention, saying, "Oh, I'm just wasting your time. I'm just wasting your time." And what I was fishing for a response. I was fishing for the response of, "No, you're not wasting my time. You're important to me." All this stuff, right? And I came to realize that, and so now, so recently, anytime I feel like if I'm going to ask somebody, "Am I just wasting your time?" I always ask myself, now, do I really feel like I could be wasting their time, or am I just looking for a response? And if I determine that I'm looking for a response, then I don't ask.
That's really wise. That's
I don't
huge.
say anything. Because then I'm like, well, why am I looking for a response from them to validate me, to make me feel important, whatever. And maybe that's it. But the answer then, if you find yourself searching for a response, if you think, if you search yourself and you're like, okay, am I going to ask, am I wasting your time? Or am I going to apologize for wasting their time because I'm fishing for a response of validation from them? If that's the answer you come up with in your head when you ask yourself this question, the right thing to do with this person is not to say, I'm sorry for wasting your time. I don't mean to wait. Don't say anything like that. The right thing to do then is to ask them a question about them, or just say hi or whatever. Just start a conversation, communicate with them. Because what happens then is a warm exchange can happen if they have time at that point in time. Like, I mean, if you're on Discord or something, I mean, sometimes IRL stuff comes into play and they can't respond for a while. I know it's just the hard truth. I've been there too. But here's the thing. Most of the time, if we feel like we're wasting someone's time, we're not actually wasting their time. Most of the time, if somebody is choosing to spend their time with us, they are choosing to spend their time with us. And that's a good thing. Most of the time, if somebody feels like we're wasting their time, they just won't respond. Or they'll tell us.
That's true.
Right? But if someone's engaged in conversation with us, they probably don't feel like it's a waste of their time. Now, I do know people who, where it did kind of turn into that, where, I could have been wasting their time because they had way better things to do, It's possible, but they wouldn't admit that even if I asked, like, so it just kind of depends on the person with that regard. But I guess, Sparrow, what I would wonder, it kind of comes down to what Ryan was talking about. Have you put this person on a pedestal, and have you created an idol in a way? Because a lot of times if we like, oh my gosh, if we see somebody is so hugely, amazingly awesome, and it's great to see somebody as awesome, but depending on how we view that, it could be that we have idolized them in some way. And that's generally not healthy. So I'd encourage you to ask this question. Do I see them as like way super important and way like almost like a god or goddess or something? And if so, why? It always comes back to asking yourself the question, why? And a lot of times you can find the right answer in there. But okay, Sparrow, I don't feel like I have. It's just that I'm afraid of whatever I say, it's going to mess up the whole relationship. I understand. I understand. But from the sounds of things, you have a pretty solid relationship, and it's pretty important to you. And if it's important to you and you talk to them a lot, then it's probably important to them as well. And a good, solid relationship like that will be able to handle a few mistakes. But it really comes down to what Ryan was saying, and just being yourself, man. Just be yourself. Because you want them to love you for you. Not, you don't want them to love some persona that you've created and invented and are trying to hold up, because then that's just going to stress you right out. And you're going to have to hold up this persona anytime you're with them. And that's no good. So be yourself, relax. It's going to be okay. And man, I don't know. That's probably about all I have. Ryan, did you have anything else to say on this topic?
Just one thing, and it's kind of already been touched. I'm just gonna say it again though. As Joe said, you're gonna make mistakes in any friendship. Good friendships are friendships that hold up beyond those mistakes. If they're not the kind of person that if you make a mistake, if you mess up, you say the wrong thing, whatever, it hurts them, it hurts you, whatever it is, right? You're afraid they're not going to like you anymore, right? Because it's something you say. That's natural. That's natural. We all have that. We all make those mistakes where now the person is mad at us. I definitely shouldn't have said that, or they've misunderstood you. You know, that happens a lot too. Here's the thing. If suddenly that friendship can't hold up anymore because you made one little mistake, you don't want to be in a friendship like that. You don't want to be in a friendship where you're stepping on eggshells, you know? That's stressful, like Joe said. That's stressful. If you're in a relationship with someone and you don't feel safe about messing up sometimes, then that's not healthy, right? That's not a healthy relationship. So what I would say is, and I'm not saying that's the kind of relationship you're in, Sparrow. I'm not saying they're that kind of person. But what I'm saying is, if that's the kind of way you view it going in, or if you like are afraid to make mistakes because you're afraid that they won't like you anymore, that's stressful. And which is why you're bringing up this topic in the first place, right? Because it's stressful. And you recognize that. So what I'm saying is just let the dice fall and let that be tested over time. Because here's the thing. If you make a mistake and the friendship crumbles because you make a mistake, that's not going to be your fault. It's going to tell you a lot about them. Right? It's going to tell you about the kind of person that they are. They hold grudges, they can't forgive, they can't look past one little mistake, etc. I don't think you want to be friends with someone like that. Right? You don't. You don't want to be friends with like that because that friend is just a stress causer and they're not really much of a friend, right? Friends, good friends, they're there to help us when we fall. They're there to help us catch ourselves when we make a mistake and put us back on track again, right? That's a good friend. A good friend will do that kind of stuff for you, right? And if you are afraid to make a mistake because you think that the friendship will crumble if you do, then that's not really a friendship, is it? That seems one-sided. So,
Different kind of relationship.
yeah.
That's tyrannical in a way.
It's fair. Fair.
But
And
it's self-imposed.
we can't say that that's yeah, that's not what your relationship is, but that's what you're afraid of. So I would say the best thing you can do is test those waters. Not go out and make a mistake on purpose, but just let the dice fall where they will. And when that mistake happens for them to you, when they make a mistake, you forgive them, you pick them up, and you go on your guys' way. And when you make your mistake, see how they react. If they don't respond well to it, then you can see what kind of person they are, right? And whether or not they should be your friend. If they respond really well to it, then you know you have nothing to worry about. Because true friends, right? They don't have to worry about these type of things. When you're really good friends with someone, you're like, oh, made a mistake. And they're just gonna be like, yep, you did. All right, let's go on.
You done messed up. You done been drunk. Time to mouthwash.
Yeah. So they don't care. They don't care that much. Friends are friends, right? Sometimes we beat each other up, right? We're still friends. Right? So you know, a friend is someone you don't have to be afraid of, right?
Right.
I mean, that's so true.
Unless you're friends with
Friend is,
Ryan,
yeah. Well,
then you got to be afraid.
I'm a different category of friend, so
The friend to fear.
yes, I'm the friend to fear.
Ryan.
So,
Yeah.
no, you're not afraid of your friends. So be their friend. Don't be afraid of them. Right? We're not afraid of our friends. So don't be afraid of them. They're your friend. Don't be afraid of them. And if it goes down to the pooper, then well, you know. But if it doesn't, then at least you got to be if it works out and you make a mistake and they still like you, they just go over and it's like, yeah, whatever. We're friends. Then you know you've invested in a good person. And you didn't waste your time worrying about messing it up anymore because you could just be yourself now. Anyways, yeah. Just trying to really stick that down so that you understand. Like, yeah. Anyways, you get it, Sparrow. And you got this, man. I believe in you. You're awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's going to be awesome. But yes, be yourself. Hero says in the chat, I think a good friendship is one where you might not feel comfortable sharing things immediately, but you don't feel threatened by the other party to keep those secrets secret. So yes, that is a good
True.
friendship. But I also, you know, it's okay to be open with people. But it's also okay to guard that situation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't have to share every last little detail about everything. You can, but is it appropriate? Sometimes. Sometimes not. But the more you trust them and the more they trust you, the more you'll be able to share.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And it'll be good. I'll tell you, just through all of that, if you can continue being yourself, you're on the right track. And then just relax. Relax. Because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Everything here is temporary. Everything on this planet is temporary. Our lives are temporary. So that would include every friendship. It's temporary. I've had lots of friends that have come into my life and left my life. And you know what? The time I shared with them, most of the time, if they were my friend, it was good. There have been a few times when friendships have ended badly, but it doesn't change the fact that the time where we were friends was good. And I'm thankful for that. And sometimes you just lose touch with people and, you pick up with them. My best friend from high school, and he was my college roommate. We just reconnected a few weeks ago, like over the holidays. It was great. Man, we had a whole bunch of catching up to do. And he's a college professor now and everything. He's published a book and all kinds of great stuff. I mean, dude's awesome. And, but we went through some times where we weren't exactly the best of friends. We were best friends throughout all of high school. Then we were roommates in college in the dorms. And then because during that situation, we kind of became not such good friends. And then we moved into a house together with a few other guys. And then we were all good friends again. And then, and then he was in my wedding and all kinds of great stuff. But anyway, friendships are cool like that. But if they're with you, you're probably not wasting their time. They probably want to be there with you. And if that's the case, then you're not wasting their time. So just relax. You'll be on the right track. I don't know. That's pretty much what I have. Thank you, Sparrow, so much for the topic. Thank you all for coming out to Don't Worry Wednesday.